We simply must do this. I don't want to do it, but we have to do it. Hello Drag Race fans, welcome into another UK vs. the World Season 2 episode review. We're in episode 4 of the Snatch Game. I thought last week was bad. This one was worse. So much worse. This season started out so strong, and just week after week after week, in the words of the iconic diva Chi Devane, Turd City. This is no shade to any of the queens that are here because I'm really enjoying them. These challenges are just a bust. This, I think, is going to mark the end of Snatch Game. If Snatch Game went away, how would y'all feel? I wouldn't be upset. We're gonna get into all that. I just need to preface this with that. Okay, so Jonbers is out. Scarlett just sent her very first girl home, literally ever. Scarlett didn't even send anybody home in a lip sync in her original season. Scarlett was a part of a 6-way lip sync in which Honey went home, but Scarlett wasn't responsible for sending her home. 5 people did that. Scarlett did not send anybody home in All-Star 6, so this is her first time sending home anybody ever, which is kind of a big deal. We found out that Tia also sent home Jonbers, which I was like shocked Pikachu about, because I thought that Tia would be super Team UK and would just send out Kita, but I think honestly she thinks that Kita is hot. So I think that's why she didn't do that. I think Jonbers was the right choice out of those two. I think that Jonbers had kind of a lousy track record up until this point, but I also don't think that Jonbers should have been there at all. So I don't know how I would have voted in that scenario. Last week, I made a huge point to talk about how I thought that production had an agenda with putting Scarlett in the top. Not only because she did well, but knowing how they thought she was going to vote. And I talked about that quite at length, and some of my words I don't think were completely understood. I've seen this happen before in other seasons where they'll put somebody in the top for a strange reason, knowing that they're gonna vote a certain way to kick somebody out, and they use that as sort of ammunition to snipe out certain queens. And I think, honestly, in my heart, that if Tia had chosen Kita's name, I think Tia would have won that lip sync. That's just my personal opinion. And I still think that Scarlett was used as an agenda driver, and I almost feel like that's why she wasn't in the top this week, because Scarlett told loudly with her whole chest that she was gonna send home the strongest, didn't do that. So then, even though she did great this week, production was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that again. We already made that mistake. And despite everything, I don't think they wanted to go through that again. I think they punished her for not doing what they wanted her to do last week. Keep a note in that. The challenge this week is Snatch Game, the Family Edition. I know that Rue is like very much in her Family Feud era. I know a lot of the queens have been getting on Family Feud, so it feels really appropriate to do this. A lot of people already feel kind of on the fence about Snatch Game, and I'm curious what y'all's thoughts are about Snatch Game as a concept. I think it started out as a really cool idea, impersonating a real-life celebrity. That's something that a lot of drag queens already do in the nightlife. That's something a lot of drag queens kind of should know how to do, because most queens are inspired by a particular diva, right? For me, I was really inspired by Yvonne DiCarlo in the Munsters. I know a lot of people that were inspired by like Gaga or by Rihanna or Beyonce, what have you. And so they sort of base their drag aesthetic around copying that celebrity. So naturally, Snatch Game works in a way that you think, oh, well, I know Britney and I do her multiple nights a week. I do her songs. So I can theoretically kind of move like her and maybe even know some of her voice fries. I might know some of her inflections. I might even have something in my closet that looks like what she would wear. So I could naturally jump into that because it's something that I already do. And I think that concept started out very early, and we saw that with Tatiana and with Pandora. We inevitably later in life saw that with someone like Shangela in her All-Stars character. Somewhere along the way, Snatch Game kind of got derailed. And I think people forget that it's about making Rue laugh, but also staying in your character that you know, because if you know that character inside and out, you can make RuPaul laugh. And so I think sometimes queens pick someone that they think like, oh, Rue will know who this person is and I can do a joke that Rue might laugh at. So that'll get me through the challenge, but that's not always the case. And then especially when we tack on these extra themes, I feel like that sort of derails Snatch Game even further than it already is, because regular Snatch Game is about improv. It's about comedy. It's about impersonation. It's about acting on some level. And when you add in of love, then you have to think, okay, how am I going to play as this character if I were trying to get this person who my character might not know to want to date me? That's already its own difficult challenge, which I don't like. But then we did this weird Family Feud thing where you're not only trying to do all the parameters of Snatch Game that are already there, but you're also then trying to think, how do I stay in a dynamic with other people that are on my team? And how do I answer these questions in a way that might show up correctly on normal Family Feud? I don't know if it was necessarily the prompt, but that sort of complicates the game. It trips you up a little bit, especially when a lot of these queens speak other languages as their first language, and maybe might not be making comedy in English first. Comedy in English might be a second thing that they're doing. So they're not only juggling all these other things, but then they're juggling the language barrier on top of it, which complicates things for Rue, because Rue already doesn't laugh at a lot of stuff and simultaneously laughs at everything. So there's all these complications that they add into this particular Snatch Game. And I said it here and now, Snatch Game is a hard game. You can say all day long, well, I know this character and I know what she does. But then when you're sitting down, you have to answer the questions and be funny. That's hard. Not everyone can improv. Not everybody's got that timing. God, I'm like apologizing for this challenge, and it's not my job to apologize for it, but I'm apologizing for it. The interesting thing is that we've got a lot of Snatch Game virgins. We've got a lot of queens who have just never done it. We've had a couple queens that won, and we had a couple queens that went home on their Snatch Game. So that made it a really interesting dynamic just in general. As the winner of last week's challenge, Scarlett gets to choose the people that are on her team for Snatch Game, which I thought was nice. She chose Hannah, which was great because Hannah's very smart. Hannah's quick, she's funny. She also chose Teresa, who she had just worked with last week, and she's also smart and funny. She also chose Tia, who's also super smart and funny. Maybe Scarlett was thinking, okay, if it's team style, maybe they're gonna judge us as teams, so I wanna choose kind of the funniest people in the room who are able to make this not be a bomb. And so I think the placements were smart. And as we saw, the other team was sort of the really unfunny team. Poor Marina getting trapped in that group. So many bombs, just again and again. And then she was the only saving grace on that team. So let's talk about the characters that they did, since we have to. La Grande Dame played Carla Bruni. It was an odd choice. I did not understand the weird mouth talking thing. I thought that was really weird. I always feel like it's weird when people talk out of the front of their mouths anyway. But she didn't exaggerate it enough. And I do feel like that was a language barrier thing. And Rue was kind of implying that it was hard enough to understand what La Grande Dame said sometimes. But then when you add this weird way of speaking, it doesn't translate well. For someone like the orange man who shall not be named, when you talk at the front of your mouth, you can do a lot of fun stuff. And you can really emphasize the fact that you're talking at the front of your mouth. But when you're speaking with a pretty heavy accent and then filtering that through a weird way of speaking, unless you completely understand what that person is saying, it's hard for that comedy to translate out, on top of the fact that she wasn't funny. It was just an odd choice. It was really odd. Gothy did Kim Woodburn, who I do kind of have a little bit of a frame of reference for, and I didn't understand Gothy's impression of it. Gothy regularly performs in front of a camera, and I feel like what Rue said was so true, is that Gothy is so heavily self-producing, of being I don't want to be seen as any of these things, so I'm just not gonna do them. How can you not do a Sharon? That's so easy to do. And the fact that she was asked by Rue and refused to, kind of I think showed how much she was checked out, which bummed me out. I believe in Gothy, and I wanna see her do well. I wanna see her do well, but I don't think she wants to be there anymore. We've seen a lot of queens come in and out of the show who self-produce really hard, and Alaska has said that in All Stars 2, she did everything she could to not get that stupid clown music to play underneath her for anything she did. So she tried really hard to play the game intelligently. And I almost feel like Gothy is doing that to the most maxed out volume that she could possibly do that on, where she's blasting up self-production so loud that she herself is mute now. And that's disappointing to see. This characterization was, it might as well have not been there. She was so boring and unmemorable in every way. Then we had Kita doing Fran Drescher, and we did have this character once done by Courtney, and it was fine. Like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. This is a character I think that is purely voice-based. I don't know if you necessarily even really need to know that much about Fran, other than doing the nanny voice and then just playing up a character. You could literally do anything with that voice. You could play the dumb hoe. You could play the one who's too smart for the room, but is saying kind of out-of-pocket things. Literally anything. Like, you don't need to have anything else. And Kita complicated it so much and also was super unfunny. And I can't help but wonder if that's because she was translating jokes in her head, and so that kind of slows her down to putting that out into an improv situation where you gotta be quick. Marina did Manny Pacquiao, which I appreciated seeing that again. Mother Melinda just did this on Canada season 4, and Mother Melinda played it so good. I loved her impersonation. I liked making Manny this sort of like secret closeted gay, and that's why some of the homophobic comments came out. Whereas Marina took it completely in the Manny is so freaking fruity and a big F slur that he was just like, hey, slaying the game. And I enjoyed the idea of that. I think anytime you don't know enough about your character, you don't know how to make them funny, just playing up the F slur is funny. That's why Trinity won the devil thing. There was someone in Australia who did a really gay character as well. I think it was Jesus. So if you don't really know how to make RuPaul laugh, just being fruity is good enough. And honestly, like, I'm glad that she was the only one in the room that did it because it made her safe. Because I just don't know how you can make Manny funny besides doing what Mother did in Canada. But obviously that happened probably around the time that this was being filmed too. I am desperately curious how Marina felt when Canada dropped, watching Mother Melinda do Manny, knowing that she had already filmed doing Manny as well for Snatch Game. And in the same token, I'm curious how Hannah felt watching Jimbo's performance as Shirley Temple, knowing that she had just finished filming Shirley Temple as well for Snatch Game. So Hannah did Shirley, and honestly, like, it was funny. I was pretty harsh about Jimbo playing this character for Snatch Game of Love because I do not appreciate this narrative about drag queens, especially being groomers. And I did not like that Jimbo did not have the self-awareness to say, I should not play a character who is pitching up childlike behaviors in a dating show. I feel like someone like Shirley Temple could be funny in the same way that like Eureka doing Honey Boo Boo was funny if you play it right in the right setting of Snatch Game. And in a family style situation, I think it can be funny. I think Hannah really was just like pitching up a lot of the just bombastic movements. And I mean, her face transformation was insane. And I did really appreciate that there was the dating question, like, what's a red flag if someone's dating you? And her saying, a red flag would be someone dating me because I'm 7. That was a really nice deflect. I just thought it was funny. It was a decent performance in such a bad Snatch Game. Scarlett had a really odd choice, which was to do like a Jersey version of the Statue of Liberty. Maybe. I do not know my regional New York accents well enough, but that came off Jersey to me. And I mean, isn't technically the Statue of Liberty in the Jersey harbor? If I understand my geography, I think that is closer to Jersey than it is to New York. So maybe that was a good choice. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, Snatch Game is such a dull concept. I feel like I don't even want to nitpick about if you choose someone who's alive or not, or if they're real or not. Like, at this point, someone could go on and play a ladybug, you know, and just do like a really freaking gay ladybug. And I would be like, you know what? If you can make me laugh, I don't care what you do anymore. I will say, it was surprisingly entertaining. Teresa was Catherine of Aragon. It was funny at first. Teresa had some really high highs and some really low lows. I think there was a lot of good intention. I think I understood the character. There was never really a full commitment to a character. it kind of just swung between two versions of what she was trying to do. And I don't know if the comedy dissonance was clear enough. And then Tia was Anne Boleyn, which was surprisingly really funny, even with the sight gag of not having the head. It was a definite glow up to the previous Snatch Game, which was so bad. And I'm glad that Tia redeemed herself because Tia's funny. Tia should be able to be good at something like Snatch Game. And I thought the choice of doing Anne Boleyn was fun. What I enjoyed about this particular Snatch Game is that everybody got to answer. We got to see each girl's response. And sometimes in Snatch Game, they do this thing where they'll be like, okay, this person is safe, so we're just not gonna feature them at all. They'll get one answer, Dawn. And then some people are so bad that we're gonna show them every single time they answer just so that the audience knows how bad they were, Nymphia. And then like all these other people kind of just get left out. I did appreciate that the Snatch Game showed every single answer. It felt a little more fair so that we can properly, as an audience, understand why somebody was in the bottom or not. But I still didn't like the Snatch Game. I still didn't like the theme. This was one of the worst ones since season 10. 15 was fine, 16 was fine, 13 was really bad, but at least JVN was there and that was funny. And I mean, Gottmik killed it. But this was one of the worst in a long time. So then we moved to the runway and Tom looked great. I really loved his outfit and I think he's like one of the first celebrities in a long time who understood the assignment. The runway theme is Gone Cruisin', nautical looks. I don't really understand what this has to do with Snatch Game, but I like the theme. I feel like this season has been a lot of like, we're doing runways because we want to do them, not because they match up with the challenge at all. And I kind of miss when runways were connected with the challenge. Season 16 also feels that way, that they're just doing runway themes to do them. I am really curious if during the prompts they got red, white, blue as color schemes, or if that was what they were told to do, or if they all just kind of had the same thought. I kind of missed color. Bright colors are not really a thing you think about with nautical, but I would have gone something like a gay cruise. I would have gone super gay cruise with all of this. And I felt like I kind of missed that a little bit. So let's talk about the runway as we do every week because that's my favorite part of the show. First out the gate is Kita Minaj giving us kind of a piratey look. This is kind of the same problem that I had with her Prince runway, is that it sort of feels a little bit disjointed. And I think I'm finally starting to understand Kita's drag aesthetic. And I think what that is a lot of disjointed parts that somehow work. Looking at this, you could easily tell, okay, this is a nautical theme. I see the white and blue striped sock. I see the pirate leg inspiration. I see the pirate cape. The epaulettes on the shoulder, I think, are kind of giving nautical. But the parts are sort of giving, like, if a pirate, a drag queen, a sea captain on, like, an actual boat, and, like, Billy Bones from Muppet Treasure Island all got together and had this weird amalgamation of drag and costumes. I think all the parts are just a little bit too disjointed, but I understand what the assignment is supposed to be. The runway is sort of the last thing that locks you into your placement or removes you from it. I'm thinking of someone like Cameron Michaels during the Feather runway. I'm thinking about season 10 because that horrible Snatch Game reminded me of this. And this sort of like locked in Kita into a bottom placement because it was just messy. But I think that's her drag aesthetic. Every single week it's been just a little bit chaotic. And I'm kind of upset that I'm finally understanding that that's what she's trying to go for. And I don't know if chaos always translates well to the Drag Race runway. I don't know if it always translates well in nightclubs either, but I think I get it now. I will say I'm not a huge fan of this blue on her. I don't know if the blue hair was a good choice. I would have loved to have seen that in a neutral tone. Next up we have Theresa May. And, God, what is this? What is this? So... we have a 3-tittied sailor for some reason. I love when the girls do 3 titties because it's like, why? I love the silhouette though. Like her body looks so snatched. That dress is painted on her body. But then we've got the hentai hat and I don't understand it because nothing else about this is giving parasitic octopus. I look at this and I think that whatever this creature is taking over her body. Sort of like in The Last of Us, but as a nautical theme. And I don't really understand how they correlate with each other, other than it just gives extra nautical themes. But I feel like just doing a sexy sailor with this silhouette would have been fine. I don't even know if she needed the 3 boobs, because then what does being a 3-tittied girl have to do with having an octopus taking over your body? But only your head, not the rest of your body where the tentacles should be coming out of. Like, not here, only in the head. Like, the hat, if it just had been like a really structural hat with this beautiful hourglass silhouette, and then maybe holding on to like a floaty or something, that would have been more than enough to be a solid look, and I think could have launched Choriza into a top placement. I think this sort of scooted her down because of how overly abstract it was. The box is there for a reason, and you can stay in the box, it's fine. You don't have to think super outside of it, and I think this was just a little bit too unfocused for what that box is supposed to be. I will say that what I did love was the movement of the tentacles. I thought those were really fun. And I do feel like there are a lot of hentai people out there who got a little bit too bricked up from this runway. I'm sure that there were. Next up, we have La Grande Dame coming out in Jean Paul Gaultier. She looks beautiful. I love this hair on her. I love this silhouette. It's one that I don't think I've seen before, with a big circular skirt. And I liked the hole right in the middle. It was quite comical in a weird way. I think what this accomplishes is exactly what the theme is supposed to be aiming at, is just give nautical, and that's what the look did. It's high fashion, it's beautiful, it's fitted well, it looks great on her, and she's rocking it. I have no other notes. I think this propelled her into a safe place for me, because up until the runway, La Grande Dame was my bottom 2. Next up, we have Scarlet Envy giving us my absolute favorite look of the entire night. The way that she described this was if Jack had gotten the door instead of Rose, and if Rose had sunk down to the bottom of the ocean and was a frozen carcass. God, I love this look. This is my favorite look that I think I've seen on this season. Probably. This is gonna take top 10 favorite looks from RuPaul's Drag Race, probably of all time. This very likely is gonna be up there. I enjoyed the kind of smart elements of this gown. I don't know if y'all clocked it, but I immediately recognized those Target Christmas decorations, the little icicles that you get for your Christmas tree, that are hanging all over it to be the ice crystals. And it's a smart way of utilizing your resources so you can sort of be cost efficient on a garment that you spend a lot of money on making, and then sort of cheese on a little bit of extra costs that still make it look expensive. The wheel in the hair was such a fun detail. I love a big, obnoxious fascinator. The makeup is next level. The face that Scarlet does, I almost want to say that Scarlet in her current mug has one of the strongest looks of any queen that's ever been on the race. That might be a really bold statement, but the way that her face does this, welcome to my face, it's always very pulled up into the sides, and that snatched look, like, is chef's kiss. Kudos to Scarlet, because this was one of the best looks. I love the hair. It feels really period piece and accurate. I love the commitment to the blue. And I think we got different shades of blue than that typical like sailor boy blue that you normally see in nautical themes. I also really enjoyed the contoured breasts. That even has bedazzling on it. And she's got the heart of the ocean, top tier look. Best look of the night. For me, this propelled Scarlet into top 2, but I think production was still mad at her about last week, and I think they were punishing her. And I can't blame them. Next up is Gothy Kendall with the most basic look that you could ever do for this challenge. I personally don't ever want to see a corset bodysuit. I'm tired of them. The seashell bra was cute, but then everything else is so whatever. I do love the one thing that Gothy gave me that I love more than anything is color. Like I said, I would have done something kind of corally. I maybe would have done something a little gay cruise to kind of be a little on the nose about Gone Cruising. I love that Gothy gave us pastels. The colors itself, they're beautiful. I just don't enjoy the silhouette for this challenge. It feels sloppy. It feels lazy. It feels half-assed. It feels like this was a backup outfit to whatever the original outfit was, and she thought, I want to go home. Next up, we have Hannah Conda. This was really Victorian, and I appreciated the silhouette a lot. I really enjoy the overall shape of it, and I think that's what was so unique about this in comparison to everybody else who wasn't really giving us full silhouettes. I enjoy the fascinator. I'm fascinated by the fascinator. I enjoyed the little lace umbrella. I love that this was in lace. It was such a departure from what we've been seeing from everyone else. I think this evoked fittedness while also having a lot of flowing elements to it. But I feel like it's just a little too muted. And on the main stage, when you do whites, the lights really flesh it out, right? So I wish that maybe something was more vibrant. Maybe even just the hair. Like the hair being a darker tone could have maybe offset this a little bit. But that's me being really nitpicky because this is overall a flawless garment. Next up, we have Tia Coffee giving us a black latex Kraken look with the boat on top of the hair, which I thought was so fun, where it's like what is beneath the water is this massive creature that's coming to get you. The movement on the tentacles was incredible. I love movement in any type of runway, any type of fashion. I love seeing, and I think it had a really cool element of almost like waves coming off of it, the way that it bounced. This is painted on her. The latex is so rich looking. And overall, I enjoyed this look. I thought it was fun. And again, it's a nice departure from what everyone else was wearing, and it wasn't just stark whites. And the little boat in the hair, I think, showed that comedy that we expect from Tia. Okay, I have a silly joke for you. How do you make an octopus laugh? You give it 10 tickles. Right, get it? Cause tentacles. If you didn't laugh, I'll cry. Finally was one of my other favorite looks from the night, and that was Marina. And I know that I just roasted the hell out of wearing a bathing suit on the runway. And I stand by that. I can get behind a bathing suit that has detail and structure to it. The titties that have the water in them, the blue water that's rocking around, the collar piece, the shoulder piece, this anchor that's tied into the braid that's so long. All the elements of armor that are on this that make it look warrior-like is so fun. What Marina was serving to me was the boat. And it was one of my other favorite looks of the night. Marina's performance was pretty cute, and so I would have tossed her into top 3 personally, and I would have maybe kicked out, I think I would have kicked out Tia from the top. I don't know, because I really liked her Manny Pacquiao. And I thought the fact that she was the only good one on her team and this look was so solid, I think that maybe that should have propelled her into the top 3, with Scarlett being top 2. And Hannah being the other top 2. So Teresa and Marina are safe, which I had a big question mark next to. I didn't understand why Marina was safe. I understand why Teresa was. The outfit was fine. Other than that, I kind of agreed with everything else that the judges said. I still would have put Scarlett in top 2. I think doing Statue of Liberty is an interesting choice for a character for Snatch Game. It was decently funny, and the runway was one of the best of the night. Tom Daly saying that Shirley Temple was the past version of Honey Boo Boo was crazy. Like, he wasn't wrong. Like, that was not an incorrect statement, but that was crazy. And I almost feel like weird parallels are being drawn between season 10 today, and I don't know what's up with that energy that's going on in the universe that's making me reference it so much. But him saying Honey Boo Boo, linking it again to season 10, where Eureka did Alana, and Hannah did Shirley Temple, who's the past version of Honey Boo Boo. all my like red lines on my conspiracy theory board are all lining up. So the top 2 is Tia and Hannah. I still think that it should have been Scarlett over Tia. That's just me. And the bottom 2 is Kita and Gothi, and this is hard because Kita has a win, but has 2 bottoms, and Gothi has no wins and 2 bottoms. Gothi is super checked out, and to me, that would say, you go home. But that's not what happened. Hannah tried to be super diplomatic and was like, what is it that you need? And Gothi was just like, I don't know. And to me, that says, I want to go home. That says, I'm not here to fight. So I would have sent her home because of that. The song is Crying at the Discotheque, which I have never heard, but it was performed really well. We had 2 very different styles of lip syncing in this, and they were both very good. Hannah was super mesmerizing with her movements, her lip syncing. She does exactly what I want to see in a lip sync. But Tia was hilarious in her stiffness. I think in this particular lip sync, she understood that she can't really move that well. So she kind of leaned into that and just really hammed up her facial expressions, got on the ground and did the pouty baby move, but was actually like doing this. And if you don't know what the pouty baby move is, it's when you get on the ground and you like toss your butt up and you do this at the same time. And Tia did that in a funny way. And then where the hell did the toilet paper come from? She was just like pulling toilet paper out of places and blotting up her tears. Where was that coming from? It's like when Jasmine Masters brought out the bread. Where'd she get that? Tia ended up winning the lip sync and eliminated Kita, which was a gag. And she said the reason why she was eliminating Kita was because she felt that the other person could grow more from Drag Race. I wholeheartedly disagree. This was a strategy move. This was fully, I know that Gothi is checked out. I know that Gothi is not going to try very hard. If I keep Kita Minaj, she's going to try really hard. If it's in her wheelhouse, she could do well. But Gothi's not gonna try at all. She's done. So if I keep her, I don't have to worry next week. If I do bad, she's also going to do bad. She's someone that you can guarantee on to land in the bottom. Unless Gothi decides that she wants to wake up, but I don't see that happening. So that was the episode. And honestly, I feel like things are kind of shaking out to be weird. I don't know what's gonna happen next. It's a live singing challenge. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. I'm pretty sure, and I think it's a pretty good guarantee, that we can expect that Gothi's gonna be in the bottom. We know that Marina can sing. We know that Scarlett can sing fine. And Teresa also sings. Hannah can sing decently too. We saw her sing in the first week. I do get the feeling it's gonna be Le Grand Dame and Gothi, or it'll be Tia and Gothi, and they're gonna follow through with this storyline from this week. I could fully see production saying, we're gonna stick you in the bottom so that you can experience the fact that you kept her here, and putting her in the bottom just to see if the girls do exactly what she did this week, which was do a strategy move, get rid of somebody strong in order to keep someone who's going to be sacrificial for the following week. I also don't know a world where production would sacrifice Tia because I see her as endgame, but who even knows? This season is like taking a turn that I wasn't expecting it to at all. That's mostly with the eliminations, and I can see interesting things happening. I have a feeling someone's gonna get Panginaed soon, and I think we're all gonna be very upset. But what did you think of this episode? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like videos like this, you should check out my other Drag Race reviews. I have a lot of spicy takes and I say a lot of things that a lot of people don't always agree with. Act right in the comments, please. And hopefully see you next time. See you on the flip. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to click that like button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Goodbye.